you're ready.
All right. I hate to say call to order. Welcome to the meeting. We want to excuse two of our board members. They have extenuating circumstances. Thank you everyone else for being here. Am I echoing? We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I would like to make note on our agenda that the minutes for the work session were added this morning, just as a note for reference, but you'll hear about what we talked about as we go on through the meeting. With that being said, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We don't have any signed in visitors, so is there any discussion on the consent agenda?
I don't believe so.
Okay, with that being said, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's move on to our discussion items. We will have Mrs. Goodson present the science curriculum adoption.
Which one do you want to hold up first, the actual presentation? This way, perfect, thank you. All right, so we had our final science adoption committee meeting on Friday, and so I want to walk us through, and for our audience here as well, the process that we utilize, and then present the committee's final recommendations to the board for approval. We'll go to the next slide. So this is the process that we go through as we work to adopt curricular materials. We start off with the administrative commitment and having the working budget to be able to adopt resources. Then we identify a steering committee. We have a meeting, an initial meeting with our steering committee, and then we acquire and review those materials. On Friday, we assimilated all of the reviews, and we are now at step 6, where I am going to submit a proposal to you, to the school board. Go to the next slide. There are 2 policies that are guiding policies. That's policy 2100 and 2520 curricular materials that we utilize as committee members. So just to let you know how we work internally with our staff to get feedback on the curricular resources, all teachers have the ability to provide input and feedback. Then we gather a committee of teachers and then as well as a committee of parents. State code requires that we have a minimum of 50% parents and 50% educators. And so that's what we work to identify, and they make up our steering committee. So we met 3 times over the course of the year. This is where we're at with science in phase 1, which is the actual, I guess, working toward your adoption. Next year, we'll start into phase 2, is that year 1 implementation. That's where we are with ELA, because last year we adopted ELA materials. Next year, moving from phase 3 into phase 1, we look at CTE and the following year math, both of which are in our upcoming levy. So that's how that cycle works, so that we keep updated resources in our teachers' hands. All right, so now to the recommendation part of this. We had a great committee of parents and teachers. I wish everyone could be a fly on the wall when you hear the dialogue between them, talking both vertically, like, what do we need from our kindergartners so that by the time they get to high school, they can do DNA analysis, those types of things. So K4, the committee would like to recommend that we continue with mystery science, which is the resource that they currently have. High school, so these are the ones that we're readopting that are current resources. High school would like to keep the physical copies of their HMH textbooks. We already have those. What they did not find the greatest benefit in was the digital licenses, the online components for them. So this would give them the flexibility to use those hard copy textbooks in conjunction with the units that they developed and the committee reviewed. For physics, it's a McGraw-Hill product called Inspire Physics. And then for anatomy and physiology, it's a McGraw-Hill product, it's called HOLES. And that instructor, and it's a dual credit class, has found great benefit with the digital component. And so that is a huge ask to be able to utilize that in the classroom. So that's the current resources that they'd like to re-adopt. Looking forward to the new resources, grade 5. Previously had gone with Amplify Science to correspond with 6-8. And Amplify Science, I would say, did not meet our expectations for what we needed in the previous adoption. So they piloted OpenSci-Ed. And when the committee looked at that feedback, it had a lot of student engagement in it. And I should backtrack just a little bit. When we started our committee meetings, one of the first things we went around and said is, what does your ideal science classroom look like? Like, what do you see going on? And overwhelmingly from parents and teachers, it was kids doing science, doing the science things, more experiments, more labs, those types of pieces. So that's what we led with in this. Grades 6 through 12 worked to develop their MSD units that had that informational text, those labs, and additional resources. Grades 6 through 8 would like to utilize the Science World magazine. It's a periodical, and they're just asking for a class set, but that has seemed to really engage students because it's real and it's relevant to them. And then for high school, I need to make a correction on this one. I put the wrong publisher on there, so it really is Pearson Chemistry, not Cengage Chemistry. The dollar amount is correct from my I just had my publishers confused. And that chemistry teacher would like a print set of those books, and that is also a dual credit course at a high school level. You can scroll down. That's all. So when we look at the dollars spent,
This one?
yes. I tried to make this as easy to understand. I think one thing that's really important to note to not just our courses, but at the high school level, how many dual credit courses we have. I think the last time we went through this adoption, I don't know if we had any science classes 6 years ago for dual credit. And since then, we've added quite a few. So that's quite the opportunity for our students. So I tried to, the new resources, you're gonna see the price next to it, the existing resources. Some of them, we have all of the hard copy sets that we need. Some of them, we need 35 more hard copies in order to bring everyone up to a class set. OpenSci-Ed for 5th grade is a free curriculum, but there are things that we need to print and laminate for teachers. So that's going to incur a cost, but it's not necessarily a book cost in that regard. So the beginning balance, or the total textbooks is at the top. Then we look at our durable items. These are things like microscopes, beakers, all the things that we need. Teachers consistently said, we need good microscopes. We can buy the cheap microscopes, but because we have to move them from station to station, they're breaking. So we worked to find a vendor where we could get some warranty on them and a good price, and really, I guess, a classroom quality microscope, not necessarily a home quality microscope. If that makes any sense. And then where you're gonna see the bulk of the money spent is in those consumable materials. That's the lab supplies. So that we can really work to get that hands-on experience for our students. The total that we're looking for this adoption, if you'll scroll down just a little bit more, Lisa, did it get the rest of it, is about $350,000. And what I can say is this is lower than what we would normally see on a core adoption, but I want to put that in context for us so that we understand. We had ELA expenses bleed over from last year to this year. So, which meant we didn't have as much money for science as like a math adoption. Math and ELA adoptions will take the most amount of money because they're core subjects and the most amount of students take those. Looking forward, we also need to make sure that we budget enough in conjunction with the levy that we can look at math 2 years from now. So although it is a year by year picture, we still have to plan for the long scope of things in that regard. And so when we look at $355,000 for 4,000 some odd students for 6 years, That's a pretty good return on an investment, if you ask me.
If you calculate that out, it's about $13 per student, is what that comes back to, so.
Paige, I know I got to sit in one of those adoption meetings and I was impressed at the thoughtfulness of the teachers and I mean, those were hard conversations to have because our teachers are doing as much as they can and they're, you know, some of the ELAs actually, it carries over to science and they're using those practices and stuff and kind of teaching a lot of things all at once. And so I'm pleased to see that they went with the open science ed thing. Do you have any idea like about how much we saved by going that route?
Okay, so to renew Amplify would have been just for fifth grade, $90,000.
90.
90.
So
And so when we're looking at these consumables and they're $25,000, that's what that's a huge cost savings. Over 6 years. The other part that we're doing to help reduce the cost, I'm glad you brought that up, is, and you were there when we talked about this as a committee, is for mystery science, they come in boxed kits. And it's really nice. There's a bin for unit 1, a bin for unit 2, a bin for unit 3, everything is there. Those run at a minimum of $500 per teacher per year. And when you open it up, there's things like paper plates, toothpicks, typewriters. They're very common things, right? What we were paying for is convenience. Like it's just there. We unbox it, we hand it to the teacher, and they have all of the supply materials. And that's a big barrier for elementary. Like they have to have the supplies in order to do this because they teach everything. One of the cost-saving measures that we're going to do that will save us about 50% of what we've been spending on mystery science is we're gonna package the kits ourselves. We ran the numbers. And we're gonna be able to buy bulk in 6 years for most things. I mean, the things that expire, I won't be buying cooking oil again for 6 years. I will never live that one down. But the things that don't expire, we can purchase for 6 years at a bulk price and package those ourselves. And our staff is super supportive of that, so long as they continue to get limited release.
So it's safe to say that we're saving well over $100,000 just
Easily.
by making those adjustments.
Easily. And then even leaving our meeting on Friday, I can't tell you how blessed we are to have the parents that we have because they said, Paige, you need parents to come in and help put these kids together. You just tell us when and we will get the forces there. And so that's pretty cool to be able to know that everyone's willing to be hands-on as we're working to save that money.
Yeah, thank you for being cognizant of that.
Yeah. Any
Anything else?
questions for me on these items?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
So there'll be an action item later to approve that adoption.
Alrighty. Let's have our 4-H presentation. And
Come on up
Come on
to the front and if you'll take a
don't
moment
have
and introduce
names.
yourselves.
Yes,
and-
please, because I heard your name but can't remember it. Sorry.
Whatever is good for you.
Yeah,
to
whatever
address.
works.
Great, hi everybody, my name's Corinne Roberts and I am a program coordinator with 4-H University of Idaho for the Learn Everywhere with 4-H program.
And I'm Jacqueline Beaumont. I'm the 4-H program coordinator in Canyon County, which obviously includes Middle.
So Learn Everywhere with 4-H is a relatively new program for University of Idaho. It takes what the students are doing in 4-H and it makes a pathway for students to earn school credit for the work that they're doing with their 4-H projects. It was just recently awarded an Idaho Workforce Development Grant to get this program implemented throughout the state, so that's what I'm working under. And we are in year 2 of the grant, getting it going. And so we're going kind of school district by school district, getting it approved within there for students to earn school credit. It's currently for grades 7 through 12, but we are actually, I think this week hearing if we can expand it to K through 12 for the grant. And it's, again, hands-on project-based learning paired with online courses.
Yeah, so who here is familiar with 4-H? Who's ever heard that word before? Any alum? Any current members of 4-H? So as Corinne did for 4-H, do you want to advance that slide for me? 4-H is a hands-on learning experience for our youth. So kids can come in, they decide any project under the sun, anything that interests them. And they do a lot of project work that teaches them all about the thing that they're most interested in. We use that as a launching pad sort of to learn a lot of life skills and things like that. So we do that through what's called projects. So what is a 4-H project? A 4-H project, again, is that hands-on learning experience that kids have where they are building on their skills over time and learn their knowledge over time. They're supported by adult volunteers who are specialized in whatever area they're choosing to study at the time. And then they have to showcase what they've learned. So they do that in a couple of different ways. They do that through a project record book, where they are learning those really important life skills of record keeping, documenting exactly what they've done. It's essentially a stepping stone towards their resumes when they're going to be applying for jobs and things like that. We also put them through oral presentations, so they have to learn how to speak to a group of people about what they've learned. So that's the sort of reflection piece that they have to go through as well, so that they're really understanding what that material is. They also have an interview with an interview judge where they are, again, reflecting on their experience. They talk about what went well, what could they improve on, how can they do better next year. The motto of 4-H is making the best better. We just want that to be in every aspect. You want to go ahead and advance that slide for me? So again, meeting those project requirements, they are required to set some goals, and those are age-appropriate goals. So the little guys only need to set 1 or 2 goals about their project. The older you get, the more goals you have to set for yourself. And then you have to be a hands-on participant. You know, you're actually going out there and you're getting your hands dirty and you're doing the work to learn what these projects entail from start to finish. They have to complete a checklist where at least 5 lessons a year they have to go and participate in. Again, those oral presentations, the record book, involvement reports, those are just resume builders for when they're going to be applying for college scholarships or jobs in the future. And then again, that interview, and then they have to exhibit something at the fair or to the public in any setting. The fair is just the most common route that people choose. But it's to demonstrate their mastery, to demonstrate these are all the things that I've learned, check it out. You know, I made a poster of all of the parts of a sewing machine, right? Or something like that. You want to go ahead and advance that slide for me? So again, this is documented learning. So through the record books, they actually have to go in and write down every meeting that they've attended, what they discussed at those meetings, what they learned at those meetings, things like that. You can see if there's anything I'm missing. Nope, I think that's all. Go ahead and advance that slide once more. Again, that judging, feedback, and evaluation. So this is where our mentors come in, and they ask a lot of really good questions to our youth and ask them what they learned, how can they improve, what was their experience. A lot of times we'll get, well, I tried this way and that didn't really work out, so I'm not going to do that again, but I'm going to do it this way instead. And so they're really learning in that hands-on kind of way and through reflection and things like that. Go ahead and get that slide for me.
And so with this program, it takes all those aspects of the 4-H and 4-H project and then pairs it with online courses that have been developed with the University of Idaho Extension faculty's curriculum. And so the piece with this is that online coursework. They do have to have a minimum of 60 hours with that. And then there are rubrics that are used to assess each part of the exhibit, learning activities, presentation, interview, all of that. And then all of that is uploaded into through Canvas, through the University of Idaho. And then we generate a transcript that's then sent to the schools, and then the schools will transcribe the credit. So it is a high school credit. There's a course fee of $125, and we currently have courses in animal science and civic engagement, which is our Know Your Government piece of 4-H. And so that is a whole whole nother thing where they're going to, like the Capitol and doing mock trials and getting their bills passed and all of that. So it's a huge project that our students are taking on to learn about civic engagement. We can go to the next one. So this is what the transcript will look like that is generated and then that's sent to the schools. We also do an ISIL certificate for them. Go to the next one. That's it.
Any questions?
And I did send over the course catalog. So as I said, right now we're starting with animal science because that one is one of the more popular projects that we have, and then the Know Your Government piece as well. And we are looking to expand also to like family and consumer science, financial literacy is something people have been asking us for. We're looking at the water and wildlife, forestry. So it's a program that is just starting and growing.
Very good, thank you. Any questions?
Really quick, the 125, is that something that advanced opportunities can be used for? Did we find
We
that out?
have not gotten the go-ahead for advanced
Okay.
opportunity
Not
funds.
yet.
Not yet. And so our county offices are looking at ways for scholarships. One school I was talking to was talking about like the Rotary getting scholarships that way, or that just being, something to keep in mind.
Just something to keep in mind. And then, 4-H has been working with Paige and our curriculum to do the crosswalks for what classes those would count for. But overall, I feel like this would be a great opportunity for the students that are already involved in 4-H to be able to get credit for the things that they're learning and doing there. Very much an
Absolutely.
educational opportunity in 4-H as it is with us. So I felt like that would be a great thing. I actually like the idea of making the best better because we're the best in Middleton. So thank you for making
Well, and
that.
it's enriching, yeah, it's wonderful.
So any questions? There'll be, again, an action item for that one to approve them as providing courses for credit
No.
for our students.
We appreciate you coming, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
All right, so let's move on to crosswalk talk.
All right. So we've been working together with our parent safety committee and the city of Middleton to identify some of the different needs that we have within the district. On this particular situation, it's the area up by the high school on Willis. There's a map up there on the screen there, but there's a sidewalk that comes out of West Highlands that empties right onto the street. And we have quite a few school-age students that are crossing the road there at that area. Our parents have identified that as an area that often creates near misses. And so we've been looking at a way that we could partner with the city to collaborate with them to install that. It would be a crosswalk with flashing lights that push button and cross. The city has already helped us out on that as well by putting up the flashing light for the school zone that hadn't been there working before. So we've got an opportunity to look at here. I think there's still room for some questions, and then there's some new information that Mayor O'Meara would like to share with us about this project that we just found out today. So Mayor, do you want to?
Well, that's good to know. Let's get that information.
What was that?
Let's get that information.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot of work being the mayor, thanks for doing it.
Like Mark said, we've been working on several projects along Willis to try and improve pedestrian safety. The Willis and Hartley intersection is one of them where we're working on, but this particular project is a direct concern to us because of the amount of injuries that have been sustained in the crosswalks in Caldwell. So that's kind of brought this to the council's attention a little more fervently than one would anticipate. But at the current time,
City council would like to partner with the school and get this put in this year, or we're looking at pursuing a Safe Routes to School grant, which would push this project off until next year. This is really not that expensive of a project to get done, and a lot of the work could actually be done by our staff, but that funding partnership will really help get this put forward this year.
So with the funding partnership, that would be cost share between the district and the city. But this Safe School or Safe Routes to School grant is one that could also, would it pay for the whole project?
It would pay for the whole project, but it's a long process and you're not guaranteed funds. Okay, just because you put it in the application, so did 400 other schools.
Right,
So you never know.
right.
I've been through that process myself with the Parks and Recreation District in years past for the Heights Elementary, or no, not the Heights. The Heights Elementary, the pathway that goes through the park. They funded it, but we had to apply 3 times before we actually got funded. So even if we go through the process this year, you're not guaranteed you're gonna be getting that grant for next year.
So with that information, I don't know if that's something that as a board, we could take this up again in May. After we've had a chance, because we've not had a chance to really look at the grant and what the parameters would be and what kind of information I might recommend that we take that month at least, with any other questions that you might have, to work with mayor and look at that, how that might play out. Because if we know timelines, then if we don't get the funds, then it might give us, we would know when, we would know before, it would be earlier in the process when we got notice that we didn't or did get the funds. And then upon knowing that we didn't get the funds, it might give us some opportunity to act there as well. But I think it might be a good idea to have at least some time for our offices to work with the mayor and look at that grant and see what kind of information we can give and what that timeline might roll out to be.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned that possibly the city could have some of its crews assist in this as well to lower some of the costs.
Yeah.
And of course, we have people as well.
We do have experienced concrete people, because you're gonna have to remove curb, gutter, and sidewalk and put in the ADA accessible ramps with the little dots on and everything. That's really not that difficult of a project, and a lot of it can be done out of the traffic lane. But we don't have the materials or the experience in putting in the striping, which is just a polymer. They actually just run out there with a weed burner and heat it up and then belts to the asphalt, but we don't have that in our repertoire, I should say.
Well, I mean, we got, on this proposal, there's $15,000 to break out a couple chunks of sidewalk and just for the removal. And so I think I'd rather see some pencils sharpened so we can get a better idea of if we come together and do what we can to spend our money as carefully as possible.
So to restate what you're saying, either we'd be looking at that grant or we'd be looking at adjusting what the proposal is to match, to include what we could provide, either with city expertise or school district expertise, or both.
Or what, yeah.
Would that be fair to say?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's probably where we'd go. So the action item would be more of a tabling for further information once we get that information back. So we would bring this back in either May or June. That way we would know before we work too hard on that grant.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right,
We're gonna talk Viking here too.
Yep.
In a second, if you wanna.
Oh,
You don't need to stay up.
Yeah.
But
okay.
All right, let's move on to Viking Avenue's future planning,
Okay, can you bring that map up, Lisa? Thank you.
which if any of you want to know, it's the road right out here.
Yeah, this is the road right in front of us here that As we've been working with the city and the highway department and the whole group that's been working on the possible bypass options of Highway 44 through Middleton, one of the ideas that came up in the public forums, this was about a year ago, Mayor, that was to extend Viking so that it goes down this lane and past the academy and then across the ditch and then connect to whichever of the different alternatives that they would have, thus providing two different ways that a parent could get out when they're picking up or dropping off their kids. So I'm going to step up to the TV here for just a second. I'll move it around so the board can see a little bit better too. But so what we'd be looking at is extending Viking Road coming down this way. And there's a lot of adjustments to the road that we'd have to be looking at to do it. But we come down this way and then follow the ditch along this way until we get to this point. Then there are 4 different options that the city and ITD are looking at as possibilities for that bypass. One of those is just to widen Main Street. If we were widening Main Street as we come across that ditch, we'd just be looking for the easiest way to connect to Cemetery Road because there wouldn't be anything else added out there. So come across here and then across this land and connect to Cemetery Road. The next option, or the next 2 options, are the different bypasses. So one bypass comes through, and actually the way they have it drawn out right now, it cuts through this portion of property of the city. That's correct, Mayor?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so if that were the case, we'd be coming and trying to connect into that bypass as it cuts through here. The other connection is further out, and so we on that one we connect to Cemetery again because Cemetery is what would be end up connecting to the bypass. The 4th option that the city and ITD are considering is a couplet, which makes Highway 44 one way in both directions. So I can't remember which one's. Is it west on Main Street?
It's east on Main Street. And
East,
west.
okay, so running east on Main Street and then running west on the new road. And that couplet would actually come straight across here as well. In that case, because it's coming straight this way, we would come across the ditch right here, tie into the couplet there, but actually they'd have a planned traffic light and everything at that point. The bottom line is that in all 4 of those alternatives that they've discussed, they are interested in helping us get Viking connected to them. And there's different ways that it could connect, and there's a lot of different parts we have to look at. One of them we have to look at is the canal or ditch that's there. Some of those ideas might require capping that, and so you'd be running over the top. Some of them might require the ITD purchasing some of those properties. Some of it might require some slight adjustments to our actual Middleton Academy building. All of that would be more worked out down the road as far as what that could look like, and none of it's set in stone. All we're really trying to get at right now is, do we feel like this is a positive thing for the traffic in this area if we were to connect Viking? If we agree to that, then we start looking at honing in on the different things. And honestly, the decision's going to be made independent of what happens with Viking. They're going to have to choose one of those 4 alternatives as they go through. And Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, but that decision has to be made first before we decide anything with Viking.
Right.
But the folks that are working and putting this proposal together want to know how the board, because all of that is school property that they'd be coming through. So they want to know how the board feels just in the general idea of, do we support the idea of connecting Viking to whatever pathway they end up choosing to go through. Beyond that, we're not making any kind of decision. The action that the board would be taking is just to provide a letter of support for the connection of Viking to future pathways that might be developed in the south of our school property. We make that at least tells them the school district's interested, doesn't commit us to any kind of land acquisition or anything like that at that point. Just says we're interested in talking about it. Questions about, if you have questions about the alternatives, I might turn it over to the mayor. He's got a better feel for what those different alternatives look like. If it's how it would affect these different parts of our district, I can address that to a degree.
I think my biggest concern would just be the view of how that, and like, do you feel that would impact positively the safety of students and parents and drop-offs and moving traffic through?
Well, I think it would, my feeling is that it would absolutely impact it in a positive way, because it gives parents, instead of having to wait in long lines to get out onto Cemetery and people pushing those gaps that we all know that we push to try and get into little spaces, it gives them a relief valve that just isn't there right now. And I don't know where we get a relief valve if we don't go across that ditch somewhere. So for me, as I look at it, my recommendation would be that we at least look at the options of getting it, because again, I don't know where else we get a relief valve. All the different ideas we have is really just moving pieces around, but they all come out the same places. Creating a new place for them to go out gives us that out. So
I think a good question.
Absolutely.
Who came up with why we're going east on the main drag and west?
yeah, I don't know that one.
Outside.
Mayor?
That was me.
Why?
Well,
I was curious.
Two one-way couplet, has worked very well in a lot of cities.
No, I understand the coupling. I'm all about the coupling, but I'm wondering why we're coming from the freeway going east one way on the main drag,
Right.
where most of our traffic is going the opposite direction, coming into town, not out of town.
Let's,
It just,
that's still an item of discussion.
yeah,
Nothing
I'm
is
just
set in
curious.
stone. That's just the way we discussed it to begin with,
Oh, okay.
okay?
It's
It
a
just
starting
seems to me
point.
that,
Just a
This is
starting point.
way up here in the air, right?
right, but I was just curious because
Yeah.
it just seems like people are coming into town to drop kids off, to come home, to do everything else, right? Middleton residents, they
Absolutely.
go into town, into Boise. It's not like the freeway is your big gauntlet. Your gauntlet is coming from Eagle Star, that Meridian, that area coming into Middleton. You would think logically it would be west coming in, east going out, on the backside.
Either
Sort of,
way, it really
but-
doesn't matter whether
Right.
you're coming in on the existing 44 or on the bypass route. Both of them would have access to the back or front of the school. So
Right.
it can become that loop that you
Sure.
don't have.
I was just curious.
Any other questions, board members, on this?
and all we're doing right now is we're just committing to talk about it.
Yeah, you're saying,
Outside
we
long
like the
line.
idea of having a way to get across the ditch, and Viking is the opportunity right now.
Right.
Very good.
Doesn't say, like I said, doesn't commit the district to anything beyond having that discussion further.
Question?
The questions can be asked after the meeting.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from board members?
Good.
Thank you for your input. Let's move on to our CTE program approvals.
Do we have a? Will you bring that up? This is just for your information. We talked about several different CTE programs that we wanted to look at, including, and the board approved, including in future planning. We submitted all of those to the State Department of Education, and this is just a list of the different programs that were approved. And now not all of these are going to be implemented this next year, but some of these are just getting the planning stages. But exploratory agriculture, food and natural resources at the middle school, exploratory family and consumer science at the middle school, exploratory health professions at the middle school and exploratory trades and industry, and that's where the construction coursework would be. At the middle school, at Middleton Academy, cosmetology, Middleton High School, cosmetology, and then Middleton High School military science, which goes along with our junior ROTC
Mhm.
programming. So all of those, like I said, not all of those are going to be implemented next year, but it just gets us started along the process on any of those. So just, those were approved by the state and wanted to make sure that the board was aware that those all got
Thank you.
approved.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's great. And I do need to give compliments to both principals at both schools and Stacy Kassler, who runs our CT programs. They did all the work for that.
They
So
are working hard, and
that's it on that one. Unless you have any other
that's a good
questions.
direction. Nope, let's move on to phase 2 border planning.
Okay, when we talked about elementary school boundaries last summer, the bond had failed. We didn't know when we were going to get another school. We said we need to start moving kids out per Sage. We did one phase of that, moved about 100 students worth to Purple Sage, and that shifted mainly from Heights and a few from Mill Creek. And then we had discussed having a second phase of moving prior to us applying for and being granted the funds for the new elementary school out in on Kingsbury. So I would just like to make a recommendation to the board that we cancel any moves for phase 2, because when that new school opens, we're gonna redo all the boundaries. And I think it would be not necessarily an efficient way of using, and it would cause a lot more stress and could create a situation where a student in 4 years might have 4 different schools. Well, 3 different schools, I think is the most possible.
Let's not
And I
do
don't
that.
think that that's where we want to go. And right now, the capacities are doable. We had Heights that was at 150%. It's down into like 118%. Manageable numbers of being over capacity. And we brought Purple Sage up to, it's like 97, 98%. It was down in the 80s. We've not balanced perfectly, but we've balanced it a lot better, and that'll get us through for the next couple of years. So
What's Mill Creek at?
Mill Creek's at 115%.
115,
capacity.
okay.
So my recommendation would be that we maintain the phase 1
Yes.
moves that we did already, and that we choose not to do the phase 2.
But then we will need a phase 2 when this is elementary school.
Yes, it'll include, we'll have to shift
It'll
from
be-
all the borders across because everything will shift out towards, we'll move a good chunk from Mill Creek to.
Spring of 2020, right?
Yeah, spring of 2028, we would announce the border changes in anticipation of the fall of 2028 opening.
And we would, currently, we don't know because we don't know houses built and everything
Correct.
else. But heat maps would tell us that our new school is full.
Yes, and so the plan would be move all of the students we can to fill that new school for multiple reasons. One, we want to make sure that the students, that new school is filled with Middleton students. And so all of those students, even those that live around, they'll fill that school. It
And
also
that
means that
subdivision will be built
that subdivision will be built
before
around
the
it.
school opens.
And then that means that students that may want to come from the other side of Star, because remember, part of Star is in Middleton School District. That part has to come.
To
But
the
after,
Canada line,
but on the
yes.
other side of Canada, there might be students that want to come to Middleton. They won't be able to go to that new school because it's full.
Yeah.
So we would fill that and then balance behind it would be the goal.
So just to clarify, you might live in the city of Star, but you live in the Middleton School District boundaries.
Correct. If you live east of Canada
Just to clarify.
and you're in Star, it is a Middleton School District, which means those families pay taxes to Middleton School District.
Yes.
They don't pay them to Star or West Ada,
Yes.
You mean west of Kenny.
west of Canada.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 East
You
is-
said
When I say east, oh my
East, we'll
gosh.
just take
Yeah,
that
That's
out from
gonna
West
help
Ada.
everything, right?
Yeah.
Mark keeps messing up with
Yeah.
the correction.
West of Kenny.
Everybody west of Canada is
Yeah.
Middleton student.
Yeah.
Middleton
Yes.
Vikings all the way. We'll put a
Yep.
sign up there.
And that
make
is the
sure people
county
know.
line, so just
Yeah.
for if anyone else. clarification. Do
So
we
any
need,
questions on that?
is there an action item on
There's
that?
not an action because there wasn't an
I was
action
gonna
to
say, I didn't think
to
so.
establish phase two.
Thank you.
It was more, we had talked about it and didn't
No,
want to
it's
take a
good to
change in
get it.
direction
Yes,
without.
well, and it's, yes.
Okay,
All right, let's talk about the elementary school construction schedule and the naming update.
okay, so the elementary school construction schedule, we had our workshop, and this is what, what the minutes say, but we had our workshop for the elementary school construction, and there was a goal and a possible pathway if every single thing went right to get that done by the fall of 2027. But we just had the first thing, major thing, not go the way we needed it to meet that schedule. And that thing is getting the water to the site. They had a plan that went right across, they have to bring the water across 44. They had a plan to go straight across to that district, working with another developer. That developer backed out of the plan. So now they have to go down further on 44, cross 44, down further east, and then come back to the school. And all of that requires different EPA planning and just takes more time. And we can only get the building so far before you have to have the water to the site, because you have to test the fire systems at a certain point. And then if we don't have the water there and it's just sitting empty, we're spending money to maintain the open site.
Yeah.
And most of that would move us to creating a middle of the year move, which is for elementary kids, not the best way to adjust. So the recommendation from that workshop was to plan for a fall of 2028 opening. And our ESI and LKV both feel that still allows them to, that allows them in a better way to bid out at a time of year where they're likely to get lower bids than they are if we were pushing that other schedule. So that's the main thing on the elementary school construction schedule. Any questions on that? On the naming, we did put out a request for name suggestions to our community. We had 194 total recommendations, and some of them are quite fun. Almost all of them showed a lot of good thought. I mean, I say almost, that's my judgment, not anybody else's, but almost all of them showed a lot of good thought. We're putting a committee together that's going to narrow that to, 10 names out of that then will be brought to you as a board. You as a board can choose to select one of those 10 names, narrow it to a couple, and then put it back out to the public and let them vote. But that's kind of where we're at. I'm just waiting for word back from a few more committee members that are to say that they're good to be a part of that, and then we'll get that part going and bring you the names. So
That's fun.
it's gonna be kind of fun.
And the elementary school construction schedule was what our workstation was about.
Was what the
Yes.
the workshop was about.
For the
We
record.
learned all about the water.
And we had the engineer for the subdivision there,
Yes.
as well as our architects and ESI representatives.
Yes.
Questions there?
Nope.
Okay.
Say that again. I don't know.
It was,
I can't
what's her name?
remember.
Becky
Yes.
McKay was the engineer that was there.
Yeah. I was gonna say no. All right. So,
Alicia, I think is the, Alicia.
oh, yep, let's have Mrs. Krantz coming up and talk to us about our financial auditor engagement contract. Oh, I might get out of here. 17.
Thank you. Every 3 years, we look at our audit contract, and it is up for this current year. The increase is only $900. He just charges a $900 increase per each year, as you can see by his agreement letter. That's just shy of a 5% increase. So unfortunately, school districts have to have an auditor. They don't allow the accountants that's hired to do their own work. So I would encourage you to take a look at this contract and get us approved.
Any questions? Okay,
No,
thank you, Alicia.
not really, thank you. All right, let's talk about our after-school and 21st century learning update.
Yeah, Lisa Pennington will be talking about the RFP.
Okay.
So the RFP.
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to do that? Okay. The RFP came about as we've been trying to explore ways to work with on-campus, before school, after school, and full-day Friday care. There are a few organizations that offer those services, and so we've been listening to kind of what they offer and what options that might provide us. And so we thought it would be important to move this forward, have you guys look at it for approval. In the meantime, we've also applied for a 21st century grant, which would also fill that need. And so while we're waiting to hear from the 21st century grant, it would be good to get this process going. So depending on the outcome of that, we can decide our next steps with the RFP process as well. And so the idea is, on our campuses, we would start most likely with one individual elementary campus. We would have before school, after school, and then Friday care for students. So kind of to fill that gap in our community. We've talked to some of the daycare providers, we've talked to other organizations, and really for school-aged children, there's just not as much ability for them to service those grade level students during those timeframes. And so organizations would come in on our campus from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Parents would drop students off. They would take care of that. There'd be snacks, there'd be activities, and then they could pick them up. And then Friday, it would be an all-day 6 to 6 option as well.
Is this at each school or a specific school?
It would depend on need. Most likely start with one, and then as it grows, be able to provide at each of the elementary sites. If there's enough interest and need, we could possibly start at all 3 sites. For the 21st century grant, if we are able to receive that, we do have 1 center in place, and then we'll transport students for that.
My only concern is just as we do these things, making sure that we're not impacting the regular operations or other activities that we do
Right.
space-wise. But if it's at the elementary schools, we generally don't have a lot of
Right.
stuff going on.
And we can use cafeteria space, not gym space. So there's ways to get creative about it.
Okay.
The 21st century grant, we have worked to partner with like community center with the schools. And so we've worked through kind of those logistics as well through that grant process and to explore that.
And this company that's, one of the companies that has expressed interest in this has said that they will partner with us on the 21st century grant, along with 4-H. 4-H
Yeah.
has been working with us on that 21st century grant as well. So if that's approved, we'll already have some partnerships there. And then we can possibly modify the RFP to meet any unfilled needs, but all of that would not be, none of those things would be at a cost to the district outside of just providing the space.
Well, I think any enrichment is good, so that's good. Any questions, anybody else? Thank you. Let's move on to the supplemental levy.
Okay, I just wanted to give the board an update of some of the events that we've held and what we'll still be putting out so that you're aware of some of those things. We presented to most of our staff internally. We'll do the last one this week. We sent out a newsletter to all mailboxes in Middleton School District boundaries. That newsletter had a number of different items about the levy, about what it was, how much it was going to cost, what that looked like over time. We had some folks at one of our high school track meets where we've got our plan laid out of when we're putting out social media posts that will be going. I've joined in on some of the social media posts just to help correct any misinformation that might be out there. So that's been an opportunity. It's actually been nice to be able to pull some of those together so that we can express both the question and the answer in other forums outside of those social media posts. So that's been a positive thing. We've got an article that will be going in the May Gazette and the Middleton Spirit magazine. Those have both gone, they're out for publishing. We've got baseball games and softball games. We've got a high school track meet. We've got 2 community meetings scheduled. One community meeting is at the Middleton High School on April 29th at 6 o'clock. And another community meeting is Heights Elementary at 6 o'clock. Those aren't always well attended, but we feel like we still need to make sure and provide an opportunity for somebody to come and ask questions.
What day is Heights again? Sorry.
Heights is on May 6th. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
We've got Middleton School Band Concert where we'll have some information, and most of those tables are more geared towards just helping people understand that there is an election coming up and how to register to vote. We still have probably only 30 to 40% of our parents that are registered, and only half of them are showing up to vote. So we want to make sure that at least our parents are aware, but these are open. We get a lot of patrons coming to these different events. So we'll be sharing some of those information as well. Early voting starts on April 27th. So we're making sure people understand that, as well as May 8th, there is voter pre-registration deadline and the last day to request absentee ballots. And then, like I said, we're just continuing to find ways to get the message out there. Make sure people understand what, some of the significant things that if the levy doesn't pass, what we have to cut. We have to cut 7 teaching positions. It doesn't mean that everybody's pay just goes down. We have to cut 7 positions. Have to cut 12 to 15 classified positions. It's 12 to 15 because some of those classified positions are paid a little bit differently. We would lose our security guards and one of our 2 SROs if we were to do that. These are things that I think are important for people to know, that we would not have those things around. A lot of transportation for extracurriculars would be done by the parents and families of those that have. So those are some of the things that we have to make sure people are aware of, so that when they're voting with all the information. So anyway, those are the main things I wanted the board to be aware of. Any questions on that? Okay.
All right, let's move on to the planning and timeline for the budget for 2026, 2027.
Okay, it's my favorite time of year, budget time. I included in your board packet a proposed timeline. These are the dates that meet the required Idaho code. I think the one thing that if we could get a decision on, if at all possible, is a scheduled budget workshop with our trustees. Other than that, everything else is right in line, except, like I said, with Idaho. So, initially I put on here May 20th or 21st, if that would work.
That is a Wednesday and a Thursday. The 20th is a Wednesday, 21st is a Thursday. Graduation is on the 22nd at 2:30.
Wednesday would be better. Maybe for me. Any thoughts over here?
Let's see, Tuesday, the 19th is voting day, so.
That's Memorial Week, isn't it? Memorial Weekend?
Yeah, so we get the Memorial Weekend starts that 22nd, 23rd.
Yep.
Probably the 20th.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
May 20th?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'll do my best there.
Okay.
May 20th, Alicia? Okay. And do that,
What time works best?
yeah. We really can do it almost any time of the day.
What works for you guys?
Hmm?
What time do you get off the mountain on a Wednesday usually?
Wednesday would be okay.
What time? What are you thinking?
Afternoon, probably better than morning, but,
Afternoon?
well, it really doesn't matter.
We can do evening too, whatever works.
Just you guys plan it, I'll work around it.
It's always easier for me to do when you use 6 o'clock to grade it.
6 o'clock? Yep,
Thank you.
thank you. And
Do you have
then,
any questions on the timeline?
No.
no, good times.
Thanks, yes.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to superintendent goals.
All right, you have those sitting at your table. Some of these get a little bit wordier just to try to get some of the detail in, but one of the key things I want to make sure is you're looking at with these goals as they're written out. One of the recommendations from my evaluation was to have updates on how things are going. So for each of these, I've laid out what those quarterly goals would be, what you could expect in each quarter to have me report on. What I'll do once we look at those and the board approves it, or if you approve those, then I'll set out dates so that you know which month we'll report on each of those so that it's you're aware. A big part in our academic expectations and student opportunity, we've done a lot towards getting the groundwork laid for the journey plans, but it's time to get those installed. And we've already, Paige has been working with the high school on setting that. And what was the decision today that was made for journey plans? They're going to be.
We would like to have them so that next year's 8th grade class has pathways to register for when they register in Skyward.
Awesome.
So that is.
So explain a journey plan. Just-
Yeah, so the journey plan is, as a student, I say, I'd like to be a doctor when I get out of here. Then they're going to look at the class, the journey plan says, okay, we've got this. If you're looking to be a doctor, we don't specialize obviously, but here's all the coursework. You ought to be taking in that and phys. You ought to be taking this, and you ought to be doing them in this order so that you can make the most of it. And here's the dual credit classes that apply. So it gives them kind of that idea of the path, and it's not like they're not held to it. If they change their minds next year, they change their minds next year. But then when they change their mind, say, I want to be an architect now we've got what those classes look like. And so laying out a 4-year plan for them based on what they'd like, rather than having the 4-year plan of classes, more based on a 4-year plan for an end goal.
Yes, a direction.
A direction for them to go. And so that's a big part of what we'll be working toward, as well as continuing to expand our CTE opportunities. You can see from those approvals, a lot of that's going to take work to get those done. So keeping that momentum going, because we're seeing as we expand those options, kids are flocking. The ones that have that interest are flocking to those more specific hands-on type
awesome.
Courses. On facilities, the two big things. One is the elementary school, keeping that on a schedule and on a timeline, and so keeping you as a board informed of that. But I think once we get this elementary school rolling, we need to really start looking at a 10, 15, 20-year facilities plan based on what we're estimating the growth to be. Because at some point, there's going to be other buildings we have to look at. And I think now's the time to be laying out what our different options are and getting input from our community on what they can support so that our plans are going that way. And they know that this isn't just, when we say we need help to build this school, they know that it's a part of a bigger plan. It's not just, we're just coming up with this now. We know that there's going to be growth here, and here. Look, in order to meet that, we would need a building at this time and a building at this time, and what those finances could look like. I mean, we can lay out quite a bit to help them understand. But I think that's a big part. We've been holding off on a lot of that planning because we knew we needed that elementary school so badly. Now that we've got that a little bit of breathing room with that, I think it's a big part of that. So that's a big part of those goals for facilities and fiscal stewardship.
Thank you.
Leadership capacity and organizational effectiveness, that's going to be more how I'm working with the leadership in the district, working to create plans that they can support and providing the support that they need in their buildings, as well as things come along. For instance, how our district responds and utilizes AI, and whether it's as a teacher, as a student, as a district, what we're looking at. A lot of those things need to be spelled out better than they are. We've started some of that process already, but we want to make sure and get that in front of the board. And a lot of that will also include preparing for the strategic plan, which is something that we'll start working on next year as our 5 years is kind of coming to an end there. It's kind of crazy, 5 years is coming to an end. That's what we started at, so.
That legislation didn't go through, did it?
It did.
And so it's changed. So we
It
don't have
is.
to have the continuous.
We don't have to have the
So it's
continuous
all more.
improvement plan, so we have to have a strategic plan anyway, but we've got a
No,
way
it's,
of,
yeah,
we want to do it so that it means more to us.
yeah.
And then finally, just creating more of these opportunities to build community trust and transparency so that when people have questions, they know where they can go and that they can trust the answer that they get when they get there. That's kind of the goal. So those are, I mean, you can see the more of the details in there. Happy to adjust as requested, but this is kind of what I felt like we could accomplish. And
Well, alongside of your regular day-to-day, this is a lot of work,
it is,
so.
it is, but a lot of it is going to dovetail into things that we're doing already. So
Well, I appreciate you putting that
any
together.
questions on that?
Looks great.
Okay. That's all I got then.
Perfect. Thank you. We appreciate all you do.
Yeah.
You and Mrs. Pennington and Mrs. Goodson. All right, let's move on to action items. I would entertain a motion to approve the science curriculum adoption or deny.
I move that we approve the science curriculum adoption.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the 4-H Learn Everywhere courses.
I make a motion, we approve the 4-H learning courses.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Do we need to table that?
I make a motion that we table the possible, the motion for approval of cost sharing for crosswalk on Willis Avenue until next month or an upcoming month when we can get a little more detail on paper.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I would entertain a motion to send a letter of support for the extension of Viking Avenue.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the support for the extension look at for the Viking Avenue.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the auditor engagement contract.
Make a motion, we approve the auditor engagement contract.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve the after-school RFP language.
I'll make a motion that we approve the after-school RFP language.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve the superintendent goals.
I move that we approve these superintendent goals.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Make sure you get your agenda signed, guys. Wait a minute, I didn't say we're adjourned. We're adjourned.